Imagine a life where nothing can faze you, where stress, anxiety, and negativity have no power over your peace of mind. What if I told you that this isn't just a fantasy, but a real possibility? That by mastering a few key principles, you can become unshakable in the face of life's challenges? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore today. I'm going to share with you the 10 basic principles that have transformed my own life and the lives of countless others. These are the principles that enable you to cultivate a mindset of resilience, inner peace, and unwavering strength. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but my life is so challenging right now. I'm dealing with insert personal struggle here. How can a few principles really make a difference? And I understand that skepticism because I've been there myself. There was a time in my life when I felt like I was at the mercy of my circumstances, when every little setback or criticism would send me into a spiral of stress and self-doubt. I was reactive, easily thrown off balance by the ups and downs of life. But through years of study, introspection, and practice, I discovered that we have far more control over our inner world than we often realize. That by consciously choosing our thoughts, beliefs, and responses, we can create an unshakable foundation of peace and strength. So let's dive into these 10 principles. As we do, I invite you to approach them with an open mind. Some of these ideas might challenge your current ways of thinking. They might push you out of your comfort zone. But I promise you, if you truly absorb and apply these principles, your life will change in ways you never thought possible. The first principle is this: you are not your thoughts. This is the foundation of it all. Most of us are so identified with our thoughts that we believe we are our thoughts. If we think something negative about ourselves, we believe it's true. If we have a fearful or angry thought, we become that fear or anger. But the reality is, thoughts are just mental events that come and go. They are not your true essence. You are the awareness behind the thoughts, the conscious presence that observes them. When you start to understand this at a deep level, it's incredibly liberating. You realize that just because you have a negative thought doesn't mean you have to believe it or react to it. You can simply observe it and choose to let it pass by like a cloud in the sky. This principle alone can be life-changing. It enables you to detach from the drama of your mind and rest in the peace of your true self. It's the first step to becoming unaffected by the turbulence of life. The second principle is your perception creates your reality. Have you ever noticed how two people can go through the exact same situation but have completely different experiences of it? One person might find it stressful and overwhelming, while the other finds it exciting and invigorating. This is because our reality is not determined by our external circumstances, but by our perception of those circumstances. It's the meaning we assign to events that shapes our experience. When you deeply grasp this principle, you realize that you have an incredible power. The power to choose your perspective. The power to decide what meaning you give to the events of your life. If you're in the habit of seeing challenges as threats, failures as catastrophes, and criticisms as reflections of your worth, then your reality will be filled with stress and suffering. But if you learn to see challenges as opportunities, failures as feedback, and criticisms as chances to grow, then your reality will be one of resilience and growth. This doesn't mean denying or minimizing the difficulties in your life. It's not about putting on rose-colored glasses and pretending everything is perfect. Rather, it's about consciously choosing the most empowering perspective available to you. It's about asking yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to become stronger, wiser, more compassionate? It's about focusing on what you can control your own mindset and responses rather than what you can't. The third principle is resistance creates suffering. So much of our stress and unhappiness comes from our resistance to what is. We get caught up in thoughts like, this shouldn't be happening, it's not fair, I can't handle this. But the reality is, whatever is happening in the present moment is happening. No amount of resistance will change that fact. All resistance does is create tension and struggle within ourselves. I love the analogy of trying to swim upstream. When you're resisting the current of the river, you exhaust yourself and you don't make any progress. But when you turn around and flow with the river, you harness its energy. You move forward with ease. Now, this doesn't mean becoming a passive doormat and just accepting everything that comes your way. There's a difference between acceptance and resignation. Acceptance is about acknowledging reality as it is in this moment so that you can respond to it skillfully. It's about saying, okay, this is what's happening. Now, what's the wisest way for me to navigate this situation? When you practice this kind of acceptance, you conserve your energy. You don't waste it on futile resistance, so you have more to invest in effective action. You become like a willow tree, bending with the wind instead of rigidly resisting it. The fourth principle is your inner state determines your outer experience. We often think that our happiness and peace are dependent on our external circumstances. If we get that promotion, find that perfect relationship, reach that goal weight, then we'll be content. But the truth is, lasting happiness is an inside job. It's the result of the quality of your consciousness, not the content of your life situation. I've met people who have every external trapping of success, wealth, fame, beauty, but are deeply unhappy. And I've met people who have very little in terms of material possessions, but radiate joy and peace. The difference lies in their inner state. The quality of their thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, the degree to which they are connected to their own deeper essence. When you understand this principle, you stop chasing after external things to make you happy. You start focusing on cultivating the inner qualities that create true fulfillment, things like gratitude, compassion, curiosity, purpose. You realize that you have the power to generate feelings of peace, joy, and love regardless of what's happening around you. You become the source of your own well-being rather than being dependent on circumstances. This is true freedom, the ability to determine the quality of your inner life, no matter what the outer world is presenting you with. The fifth principle is your attention is your most valuable resource. In today's world, there are so many things competing for our attention. Notifications, advertisements, social media, endless to-do lists. It's easy to get caught up in the noise and lose sight of what truly matters. But your attention is precious. What you give your attention to grows. If you're constantly focusing on your fears, worries, and complaints, you'll amplify those things. But if you direct your attention towards what you're grateful for, what you appreciate about yourself and others, and what possibilities exist, you'll cultivate more of that positive reality. One of the most powerful practices you can engage in is mindfulness. This is simply the practice of being fully present in the current moment without judgment. When you're mindful, you're not lost in thoughts about the past or future. You're here now, attentive to what's actually happening. Mindfulness enables you to catch yourself when you're getting pulled into negative thought patterns. It allows you to step back from the chatter of your mind and reconnect with the peace and clarity of the present. It also enhances your ability to focus on what's truly important. When you're not constantly reacting to every stimulus and distraction, you can be more intentional about where you invest your energy and attention. So start treating your attention as the valuable resource it is. Be discerning about what you allow into your mental space. Cultivate mindfulness so you can be more present and purposeful. Your attention shapes your reality, so direct it wisely. The sixth principle is you are always choosing. Every moment of every day you are making choices. Even when you feel like you have to do something, you're still choosing to do it. Even when you feel like you're reacting automatically, you're choosing that reaction. When you deeply understand this principle, it's incredibly empowering. You realize that you are responsible for your life. Not in the sense of blaming yourself for everything that happens to you, but in the sense of recognizing your power to choose your response to what happens. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, put it eloquently when he said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." When you believe that you are at the mercy of external forces, you feel powerless. But when you recognize that you always have a choice, even if it's just a choice in perspective or attitude, you reclaim your agency. Start paying attention to the choices you're making throughout your day. Notice when you're acting out of habit or reactivity and pause. Take a breath into that space between stimulus and response. Then consciously choose the response that aligns with your values and goals. Over time, as you practice this principle, you'll develop a profound sense of inner freedom. You'll know that no matter what life throws at you, you always have the power to choose your inner state and your outer actions. The seventh principle is authenticity is magnetic. In a world that's constantly telling us who we should be, what we should want, and how we should live, it takes courage to be authentically yourself. But when you have the boldness to stand in your truth, something magical happens. You start to attract people and situations that resonate with your authentic energy. You find that you don't have to strive and struggle to make things happen, because you're aligned with your natural flow. This doesn't mean that life becomes perfect. It doesn't mean you won't face challenges or that everyone will like and agree with you, but it does mean that you'll face those challenges from a place of wholeness and integrity. It means you'll attract relationships and opportunities that are a true match for who you are. So often we dim our light, hide our quirks, and silence our true voices because we're afraid of rejection or judgment. But the irony is, it's often the very things that make us unique that also make us attractive, interesting, and impactful. Think about the people you most admire and are drawn to. Chances are they're not the ones who are trying to fit in and please everyone. They're the ones who are unapologetically themselves, who have the courage to stand out and speak their truth. So start embracing your own authenticity. Stop trying to fit into boxes that don't align with your soul. Trust that as you show up fully as yourself, you'll magnetize the right people and opportunities. This doesn't mean you shouldn't grow, evolve, and work on yourself, but it does mean that your growth should be towards more of who you truly are, not towards some external standard of who you think you should be. The eighth principle is forgiveness frees you. Holding on to anger, resentment, and bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It doesn't hurt them, but it slowly destroys your own peace and well-being. Forgiveness isn't about condoning hurtful behavior or letting people off the hook. It's not saying that what someone did was okay. Rather, it's choosing to release yourself from the pain and weight of the past. It's choosing to reclaim your power and freedom in the present. When you hold on to grievances, you're keeping yourself stuck in a victim mentality. You're giving your power away to the person or situation that hurt you. You're letting the past dictate your present emotional state. But when you forgive, you're saying, I'm done letting this weigh me down. I'm ready to move forward unburdened by bitterness. I choose peace over pain. Forgiveness is an act of self-love and self-respect. This doesn't mean forgiveness is easy. When you've been deeply hurt, it can feel almost impossible to let go. It's a process, one that often involves feeling and acknowledging the full depth of your pain before you can release it. But as you practice forgiveness, you'll find that it gets easier. You'll find that you have more energy and mental space for the things that truly matter to you. You'll find that you're able to be more present, joyful, and at peace. So start practicing forgiveness. Start with the small things and work your way up to the bigger hurts. Remember that forgiveness is for you, not for anyone else. It's a gift you give yourself. The ninth principle is gratitude is the antidote to suffering. It's easy to get fixated on what's going wrong in our lives, on what we're lacking or struggling with. Our minds have a negativity bias, meaning we tend to notice and dwell on the bad more than the good. But when we cultivate gratitude, we start to retrain our minds. We start to look for and appreciate all the blessings and gifts in our lives, big and small. We shift our focus from what's missing to what's present. And as we do this, our entire experience of life begins to shift. We realize that even in the midst of challenges and hardships, there's always something to be grateful for. We start to see the hidden blessings in our difficulties, the opportunities for growth and resilience. Gratitude doesn't deny or minimize our pain. It's not about pasting on a fake smile and pretending everything is wonderful. Rather, it's about holding both the joy and the sorrow, the blessings and the struggles. It's about choosing to focus on and appreciate the good even as we navigate the hard. The practice of gratitude has been scientifically shown to increase happiness, improve relationships, reduce stress, and even strengthen the immune system. It's a simple but profound habit that can radically alter your experience of life. So start cultivating gratitude. Keep a gratitude journal, listing a few things you're thankful for each day. Share your appreciation with others, telling them what you value about them. Look for the small moments of beauty and kindness in your daily life. As you make gratitude a regular practice, you'll find that even the toughest days hold glimmers of grace and goodness. You'll find that you're more resilient, more open to joy, and more connected to the abundance of life. The 10th and final principle is you are here to grow and give. So often we get caught up in the pursuit of external achievements, validation, and pleasure. We think that if we just get the right job, the right relationship, the right body, the right possessions, then we'll be happy and fulfilled. But deep down, we know that's not true. We know that no external thing can give us lasting satisfaction. We know that we're here for something more. I believe that we each have two core purposes in life: to grow and to give, to continually learn, evolve, and expand into the fullness of our potential, and to contribute and be of service to something beyond ourselves. When we align our lives with these purposes, we tap into a deep sense of meaning and fulfillment. We feel that we're a part of something greater, that our existence matters. We're no longer just going through the motions or chasing fleeting pleasures, but are engaged in the grand adventure of life. Growth doesn't always feel good in the moment. It can be uncomfortable, even painful, to stretch beyond our comfort zones, to confront our limitations and shadows. But it's in this stretching that we become more of who we're meant to be. It's how we build strength, wisdom, and character. Giving also requires us to step beyond our self-focus, to consider how we can make a difference to others. It asks us to share our gifts, our time, our energy in service of something we value. But in this giving, we often receive far more than we offer. We experience connection, purpose, and the joy of making a positive impact. Your specific path of growth and giving is unique to you. It may involve creating art that inspires others, or being a compassionate listener for a friend in need. It may mean starting a business that solves a problem, or raising children with love and wisdom. It may be as simple as tending a garden with care, or as grand as leading a social movement. The form doesn't matter as much as the intention and the heart you bring to it. When you commit to continual growth and heartfelt giving, you'll find that your life becomes an ever-unfolding expression of your deepest values and aspirations. So keep growing, keep giving, keep asking yourself, how can I learn and evolve today? How can I contribute and make a difference? Know that as you do this, you're aligning with the highest purpose of life itself. Those are the 10 principles. Let's take a moment to review them. You are not your thoughts. Your perception creates your reality. Resistance creates suffering. Your inner state determines your outer experience. Your attention is your most valuable resource. You are always choosing. Authenticity is magnetic. Forgiveness frees you. Gratitude is the antidote to suffering. You are here to grow and give. These principles, when truly absorbed and applied, have the power to transform your life from the inside out. They can help you navigate the inevitable ups and downs of life with greater ease, resilience, and joy. They can guide you towards a life of authentic expression, meaningful contribution, and deep inner peace. But intellectual understanding is not enough. These principles must be lived, practiced, embodied. They're not a quick fix, but a lifelong journey of growth and awakening. So start where you are. Choose one principle that resonates with you and begin to apply it.
You may never have thought of yourself as a person who has genius residing within you. You may have thought that genius is a word reserved for the Mozarts, Michelangelos, Einsteins, Madame Curies, Virginia Woolfs, Stephen Hawkings, and others whose lives and accomplishment have been publicized. But keep in mind that they share the same essence of consciousness that you do. They emanated from the same power of intention as you did. They have all shared the same life force animating them as you do. Your genius is in your very existence, awaiting the right circumstances to express itself. There is no such thing as luck or accidents in this purposeful universe. Not only is everything connected to everything else, but no one is excluded from the universal source called intention. And genius, since it's a characteristic of the universal source, must be universal, which means that it's in no way restricted. It's available to every single human being. It certainly can and does show up differently in every single one of us. The qualities of creativity and genius are within you, waiting your decision to match up with that power of intention. Changing your energy level to access the genius within you. Higher energy is the energy of light, which is a way of describing spiritual energy. The 7 phases of intention are the ingredients of this spiritual energy. When you shift your thoughts, emotions, and life activities into these realms and deactivate the lower energies of the ego, the God force within you begins to take over. It's so automatic that it travels faster than your thoughts. This is why your thoughts about how you did it are so bewildering. The higher energy level actually transcends thought, moving into vibrational harmony with the source energy of intention. As you release ego-dominated thoughts, which convince you that you're doing these amazing things and you are responsible for these unbelievable accomplishments, then you begin to tap into the power of intention. This is where the genius that you truly are resides. I'd like you to consider what may seem like a radical idea. Genius can show up in as many ways as there are human beings. Anything in any field that anyone has ever accomplished is shared by you. You're connected to every being that has ever lived or ever will live, and you share the same exact energy of intention that flowed through Archimedes, Leonardo da Vinci, the Virgin Mother, and Jonas Salk. You can access this energy. At the deepest level, all things and all people are composed of vibrations organized into fields that permeate the entire structure of the universe. You share these vibrations, and you are in this field. The starting point is knowing and understanding that this level of creativity and functioning called genius resides within you. Then begin to deconstruct doubts about your role here. Make a commitment to raise your energy levels to vibrate harmoniously with the field of intention, despite attempts by your ego and other egos to dissuade you. Expanding your reality. Pay attention to yourself in ways that allow the expansion of the infinite possibilities that you're potentially capable of. You may decide, as I have, that repairing an automobile and surfing in the ocean aren't what you're going to enjoy doing. You leave these activities to others, and you use your genius to engage in pursuits that please and attract you. Expand your reality to the point where you pursue what you love doing and excel at it. Involve yourself in the high energy levels of trust, optimism, appreciation, reverence, joy, and love. That means love for what you're doing, love for yourself, and love for your genius, which allows you to immerse yourself in any activity and enjoy the process of experiencing it fully. Trusting your insights. The process of appreciating your genius involves trusting those inner flashes of creative insight as being worthy of expression. Never, but never regard any creative thought that you're having as anything other than a worthy potential expression of your inner genius. The only caveat here is that these thoughts must be in vibrational harmony with the 7 phases of intention. Inner thoughts of hatred, anger, fear, despair, and destruction simply don't foster creative insights. The low-energy, ego-dominated thoughts must be replaced and converted to the power of intention. Your creative impulses are real, they're vital, they're worthy, and they crave expression. The fact that you can conceive of them is proof of this. Your thoughts are real, they're pure energy, and they're telling you to pay attention and get that connecting link to the power of intention polished up through living at different levels than you've accepted as normal or ordinary. At these levels, everyone is a genius. Appreciating the genius in others. Every person you interact with should feel the inner glow that comes from being appreciated, particularly for the ways in which they express their creativity. A core theme which strengthens the flow of the power of intention is wanting for others as much as you intend for yourself. Appreciating the genius in others attracts high levels of competent energy to you. By seeing and celebrating the creative genius, you open a channel within yourself for receiving the creative energy from the field of intention. These kinds of events of people walking by and saying, "Is this your strawberry ice cream?" and you say, "Wow, I was just thinking about that. Ooh, what's going on? How did that happen? Where did that come from?" Or you're thinking about your sister and you're just having a conversation with her. You haven't seen her in 5 years, and you go to the phone and she's calling, or, endless numbers of these kinds of synchronistic events that almost like you have a collaboration with fate. become more frequent, they become more noticeable, they aren't something that you say, oh, how could this happen, isn't that interesting, or it's just chaos, because there's no such thing as chaos,
no,
is there?
It's
chaos.
only the appearance of chaos. There is nothing in chaos. It's like when you go to, say, let's say you go to New York City, and the best example I can use of chaos is Grand Central Station. Okay,
yeah.
So everybody is going hither and thither every which way and what, and you think it's chaotic. But each person is going to a specific destination. And not only that, if you were to announce a track change from track 11 to track 10, you'd see a further intensification of the chaos. But in fact, it is an elaboration of the underlying order. So in all this seeming chaos, there's an underlying order. And it's not only that you should go and get flowers wherever you go. The Vedic expression is, when you're in that state, then wherever you go, flowers will bloom.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for them. You choose where you want to go, and the flowers will bloom on your path.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, I know that. I do. And I've seen it happen, and I believe you can take this kind of consciousness and make it work, not only for you, but for those around you, or for the world. That the thoughts, the images, the vision, the ability to manifest, to create what you want for yourself. You see, if enough of us in the world believe, for example, in a nuclear holocaust, just taking it to something that affects all of us, and certainly all of our children who are going to inherit this place from it. If enough of us believe that exists, doesn't it? I mean, that's a consciousness. And if enough of us believe it, we will collectively begin to act upon that consciousness, that fear, if you will. Because fear is really, to me, there's like fear and love in there. You know, I mean, hate isn't the opposite of love. Fear is the opposite of love. When you eradicate the fear, like if I'm afraid of something happening, an opinion that somebody might have of me, somebody doing something to me that might not, somebody taking my money away from me, somebody, an IRS audit, whatever it may be that is fearful, I'm creating those pheromones that you were talking about, those fearful pheromones. I like that. That could be a rock group. You know, the fearful pheromones. Watch, they'll be on TV tomorrow. You create that. When I have that fearful thought, I find myself, I use a technique that I'm writing about in Real Magic, where I just say, I use the word next. Just like, okay, here's that thought, and I say to myself, next. Like that thought, I don't need that fearful thought, or that fearful thought is going to create the very thing that it is that I'm anticipating. So I just remind myself of next, and the stress inside, the anxiety, whatever, seems to dissipate, and I substitute fear with love, with harmony, with bliss, with ease, with whatever you want to call that. And the minute that I do that, the minute that I just shift that thought, my physiology changes. I am creating molecules with my mind that create love and harmony instead of fear, and the problem is gone.
Unconditional love is really nothing more than the absence of fear. The ego is where fears originate, with constant messages that you are incomplete and need more, that you need to win to be better in comparison to others. With its unceasing pressure, the ego keeps you in a constant state of turmoil and anxiety. Here is where all fears are birthed and nurtured within you. To accept unconditional love as your premise for living, you will have to tell the ego that there is no need to prove anything, and that all you want or hope for is already here. With this kind of declaration, fear is removed from your life and is replaced with love. Remember the biblical quote, "Perfect love casteth out all fear."
The world you live in is an intelligent system in which every moving part is coordinated by every other moving part. There's a universal life force that supports and orchestrates everything. It all works together in perfect harmony. You are one of those moving parts. You showed up here in this body that you inhabit, precisely on time. Your body will leave here with the same precision. You're an essential piece of this complex system. Here you are in this intelligent system that has no beginnings and no ends, in which all of the galaxies move in harmony with each other. You must have shown up here for a reason. Khalil Gibran said, When you are born, your work is placed in your heart. Take a moment right now and point to yourself. Your finger is very likely pointing right at your heart, not at your brain, but at your heart. This is who you are. The constant beating of your heart in and out and in, is a symbol of your infinite connection to the always present heartbeat of God, or the universal intelligence. Your left brain calculates, figures things out, analyzes, and comes up with the most logical choices for you. It thinks. Your right brain represents your intuitive side. This is the part of you that goes beyond reason and analysis. It's the part of you that feels things, that's sensitive to love, that's emotional about what's important to you. Your right brain allows you to tear up as you hold your babies or bask in the beauty of a glorious day. Your left brain can analyze it, while your right brain lets you feel it. Pick a situation and ask yourself if what you know or what you feel is most important to you. Generally, what you'll take care of first depends on the situation and circumstances you're in. Your intellect can be figuring out exactly how you're supposed to act in a relationship when things are collapsing or when they're rapturous. And then there are times when what you feel will supersede what you know. If you are feeling fearful, scared, lonely, or on the other hand thrilled, loving, and ecstatic, these will be the dominant forces you'll act upon. These are the times when your right brain is right. Your right brain will always lead you passionately to your purpose. Listening to your right brain. There's an intuitive, invisible presence that's always with you. I picture this presence as a nagging little creature who sits on your right shoulder and reminds you when you've lost your sense of purpose. Listen to your invisible companion. Express the music that you hear and ignore what everyone else around you thinks you should be doing. As Thoreau put it, if a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music he hears, however measured or far away. Be willing to accept that others may even see you as having betrayed them, but you haven't betrayed your music, your purpose. Listen to your music, and do what you know you have to do to feel whole, to feel complete, and to feel as if you're fulfilling your destiny. You'll never be at peace if you don't get that music out and let it play. Let the world know why you're here, and do it with passion. Being passionate means taking risks. You may indeed find yourself living a comfortable life when you don't follow your instincts. You're aware of that nagging companion saying to you, this may look right, but does it feel right? Are you doing what you came here to do? For many people, the answer is, how do I know what my heroic mission is? You'll find your passion in what inspires you the most. And what does the word inspire mean? It derives from the words in spirit. When you're inspired, you never have to ask about your purpose. You're living it. For one of my children, it's about riding horses and being at the stables. She's in heaven when on horseback or even cleaning out a stall filled with horse manure. Another daughter is only inspired when she's singing, writing music, or performing. She's felt that way since she was 2. For another, it's her artwork and design that makes her feel purposeful. For yet another, it's designing websites and creating computer programs for others. For me, it's writing and speaking and creating products to help people become self-reliant. This has always been my passion, even as a young boy. When I go before an audience and I sit down to meditate, I repeat the mantra, how may I serve? How may I serve? How may I serve? How can I get my ego out of this presentation, out of this program, out of what it is that I am doing, and my needs to have rewards and to have applause and to have people tell me how wonderful I am? How can I get all of that out? If you're a dentist, you can give a flower to every patient. You can call them in the evening and ask how they're doing, as my dentist always does. You can make your waiting room a place where people look forward to coming by putting in programs like this for people to listen to while they're being drilled on. It doesn't make any difference. If you're a cab driver, you can make your cab a place of service. You can do a little bit extra. And the irony is when you turn your life over to being a statesman and ultimately to being a spiritual being, this attitude allows this free-flowing, unconditional, loving energy that is the divine universe, that is God, to enter into your life.
and it just keeps going. You're just keeping the channels open, folks. That's all you're doing. You're just keeping it open. And you're aware of every little cue that comes along that blocks that channel. The minute that it's there, it's an angry thought, it's a judgmental thought, it's a stressful thought. The minute that it shows up, you replace it with an attitude of service, gratitude, generosity, and it leaves. The part of you that knows, the part of you that is infinite, as the poet suggests, the part of you that is every place, is also in all that you would like to see show up in your life. And if you keep a generous, grateful, serving attitude, you'll never block it. Thank you.
Human beings are multidimensional. We don't get that. We think we're just one-dimensional. Maybe two we'll get in. We don't see that there's 18, 20, 50, hundreds of dimensions that are all part of this transitional process called humanity. And that when you get this inside of you, that death is no longer anything to be terrified of. It's just you understand, you know, it isn't a belief, it isn't a faith, it isn't a religious thing. It's an understanding that you can't kill thought. And form never dies. It is always just in transition. And if you just ask yourself the question, am I a body with a soul, or am I a soul with a body? And if you know that you're a soul with a body, if you know that you aren't this body, and that you've been in many bodies already. You've been in this little body, and then in this 12-year-old body, and this 18-year-old body. You've been in all these bodies. When there's no form left to any of them, you take on a whole new approach to this terrifying thing called aging or dying. I had to address the Florida Council on the Aging last week. I was the keynote speaker. And I got up there and I said, and there were all of these people who work with aging people and all of these older people and so on. And I got up and my opening line was, "You've asked me to be the keynote speaker on a subject that I don't believe in. I don't believe in aging. You can't age thought. You can't age spirit. You can't age divinity. You can't age feeling. You can only age form." And I know that's not just me. And that's what this whole thing is about. That's really what we're talking about. Understanding that who you are, because you can't touch, feel, grab, and do all that stuff you can do with that pile of bones and gristle and veins and things like that. And because you can't get a hold of all of that, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, any more than the wind doesn't exist because you can't get a handful of it. No one has ever seen the wind. You can't see wind. You can't hold wind. You can't smell wind. You can't touch wind. You can only see the results of wind. That's all. You know that wind exists, but nobody's ever seen wind. How can you do that? So it exists independent of whether you can touch it or grab it or not. And as you get into this awakening process, this highest level that frees you from all of the stuff that immobilizes most people, all of the anguish, all the depression, all of the having to get ahead, all of the accumulation anxieties, all the type A behavior and the hurry sickness that we suffer from, that stuff becomes something in the past that is just thought. It's just there. And you'll never, ever be knocked around by it again. So thought is an endless energy that goes on and on. And if you know that that's who you are, this ability to think. And for the skeptics, I would suggest to you that what you do is you think about everything that's ever happened to you up until this moment and understand that all of it, up until right now, in this moment that you are alive, is in the realm of thought. You can't touch any of it. You can't have any of it. And yet it's very real for you. You can get very emotional about it. You can have experiences through that thought, but you can't ever have it. You can't ever touch it in the form sense. So that your whole experience of your past up until this very second is all in thought and nothing more, right? And yet it's very real. And then I would say to you that to think about everything that's going to happen to you from this second on and to understand that that's also nothing more than pure thought. You can't have any of that. You can't touch tomorrow. You can't get a hold of your goals. You can't have those and dissect them and treasure them. You can't take tomorrow's BMW and drive it. That's all just thought. And yet you can also have the experience within your form, within yourself, through thought. So your whole past and your whole future are a thought. So that only leaves you with now. And then what you do is you look at now and you look at all the things that are important to you, that you want for yourself. And you start with your children and your wife or your husband and your co-workers and your parents and all of these people. And you understand that the only way you can ever experience them in the moment is through thought. Through your mind. You can't do it any other way. You can't get behind their eyeballs and be them. That's the limitation of form. So you can only do that through thought.
And then you take all of the stuff that you want to accumulate, and you begin to see that that's only thought too. It's only thought. You can't be a diamond. You can't be a new house. You can't even have it. You can't even own it. It is only in your mind that you do something with it, and you can experience it, but you can't have it. Now you get to this place where you understand there are no limits on me, because I can think anything I want. Now you're looking at new rules. New rules. Here are the rules. There are no such thing as cause and effect. Now, we live by cause and effect in form. You do this, and it causes this, and physical form is altered by this and that. But in thought, you don't have to have a cause and effect. In other words, if you're doing something in thought, and you want to change the thought to something else, or if you're right now in Chicago, but you want to be in Afghanistan, you just go there. You can go there, and you don't have to get on a train, and you don't have to fly. You don't have to do any of that. In thought, you don't have to have cause and effect. That place of no limits is how you start looking at everyone and everything in the universe. And you begin to look at all the stuff that we get really hung up with owning, and you start saying to yourself, if it's in my life, it's fine, and if it's not, that's okay too. And you look at your relationships, and you find out that almost everything you fight about, you're fighting about stuff that doesn't even exist, isn't even real for you. What's real is just how you think and what you fill yourself with. And if your thoughts are harmony and ease and serenity and love, and that's all you have to give away, then that's what you start giving away. You can be anything, you can do anything, you can go anywhere. I think of it like an actor on a stage. You sort of see your form going through these motions. Like, we produce a series of tapes, all right? So that's one of the motions that it goes through. In order to do that, we got to fly to Chicago. In order to do that, you got to drive through rainstorms. And you just sort of watch your form go through all of these things. But there's another part of you, the real divine part of you, the real you, that sort of just stands back like an actor on a stage and says, these are just emotions that I'm going through, but that isn't really me. I'm much more divine and much greater than all of that. I'm much bigger and grander than all of that. And you start seeing the perfection behind everything that you're doing. And you never worry again about your form wearing out or about dying or any of those things. They become meaningless.
And that's who you are. That which never changes. And if you ask any of the spiritual masters who've ever walked among us, any teacher that will come your way, they will teach you that reality is the part of you that is eternal. And when you live there, you abide in an absence of fear. And you begin to know that life itself is a sublime experience. And there are no accidents in it at all. That this is an intelligent system that we are all a part of. And that intelligence, whatever you want to call it, flows through each and every one of us. And the same intelligence that moves a star across the sky moves a thought across your mind. The same intelligence allows the seedlings to sprout. And we'll take a little seedling and have treeness in it, just as a little drop of human protoplasm has you-ness in it. And it has a future pull. And the whole physical domain is handled in that drop of human protoplasm. When you will show up and when you will leave. It's all in there. The thing that makes you a member of something called higher awareness is that you, unlike a tulip bulb, which has its future pull built into the bulb, you get to decide. You get to decide on the pictures. And you get to determine what your life truly is, not what this garage where you park your soul is all about. And to understand this, go to the poets. We were doing a tour, a backpack thing with my wife and two other couples this summer on Haleakala in Maui, this dormant volcano. And you go down in there and you hike for 3 days. It's a wonderful experience. It's like the closest you can get to being on another planet, I think. It's very silent, and the terrain looks like God has just sort of reached down and placed each object in there. It's a very peaceful, beautiful place. and it's all volcanic dust. And when we got one day in, and we all sat down to do a group meditation, I picked up a handful of this volcanic dust, and I said, would you like to... I used to teach this poetry, and I've written a lot of it myself, and I said, would you like to hear what Emily Dickinson had to say about this in a poem that she wrote in 1914 called A Single Hound? And we all sat around and we meditated, and I held this dust in my hand, and I said, listen to Emily Dickinson, and listen to this, and think about you as the noticer and as that which is being noticed, what you've been watching as you send your body back to nowhere. And what part of you is real and what part isn't. She said, this quiet dust was gentlemen and ladies and lads and girls, was laughter and ability and sighing and frocks and curls. This passive place, a summer's nimble mansion where bird and bees fulfilled their oriental circuit, then ceased like these. Think of this room filled with all of these people here tonight. And think 1,000 years into the future. And listen to her words again. This quiet dust was gentlemen and ladies and lads and girls, was laughter and ability and sighing and frocks and curls. You see, if your primary identification is with this thing called your body, then you are destined to a life of fear. If you know that who you are in a state of heightened awareness is not this raw material, it's as if this organizing intelligence we'll call God has taken all of this raw material and organized it into various levels of awareness. Here are some rocks, here are some plants, here are some animals, here are human beings. All made up of the same stuff. It's not the raw material that separates us from all other life. It's something called awareness. And this heightened awareness that we have a capacity, most of us live our lives at the awareness level of survival. The awareness level of daily awareness in this room, where the animals live. Just sort of taking care of their offspring and providing for themselves and planning a little bit for the future and putting a little bit away. And the idea of a higher level of awareness doesn't even enter our consciousness. We're satisfied to survive, except for the fringe dwellers who say, there is a deeper, richer experience of life. I know it. And just because you who are in my life are not on my path, not only are they not on your path, they're not even on an entrance ramp to your path. And they probably won't be. And that's divine too. That's perfect. That's here to teach you to be kind, not to be right.
I would encourage you to keep track of these 12 ideas, the Dyer dozen, for connecting to intention. 1, whatever it is that you perceive to be missing, whatever health problems that you may have, whatever addictions you're struggling with, whatever lack of love that you have in your life, whatever lack of peace that you have with your aunts and your uncles or your parents or your in-laws, want the peace that you seek for yourself more for them. Want it more for them. That is how we create this level of consciousness. Want more for others than you want for yourself. Secondly, think from the end. Begin to see yourself surrounded by the people and the events and the things that you would like to have only see yourself. You're having a problem with an addiction, see yourself as addiction-free. See yourself, if there's a car that you want. My son was perfect at this, Sam. I mean, he's just so good at this. Because there's a certain car that he wanted. It's yellow. And he didn't just bug me about it every day, which they all do. And all kids will do that. But he saw himself. He got a picture of it. He put it on his computer. It's the background of his computer, this yellow whatever it is, all right? I call it the school bus. I told him I was going to put cab fares on the side of it, but that's what he wanted, huh? And then he saw him, and then he went down and he drove it. And it was a used car, and he got on the internet, and he just saw himself in it. He couldn't not see himself in it. You know, we call this just persistence and being a pain in the rear end oftentimes, but it's not that at all. What it is young people have this instant knowing and awareness that I can create what I want for myself in my life, and the way that I do it is I act as if it's already here. And almost like they won't be denied it. That's what intention is. It's not that pit bull attitude. It's that awareness that I am thinking from the end. It's already here, because everything that you think is missing from your life is already here. The third of these dozen is to be an appreciator in your life. Be an appreciator. Look for that which is valuable rather than worthless. Look, you go out and you buy a house, and 10 years later we say it appreciates in value. What does that mean? What does it mean that a house appreciates? It is more what? Valuable. It's more same thing with you. If you're an appreciator, you have more value. Now you buy a car, you drive it off of the lot, and they say, well, it just depreciated by 20%. What does that mean? It is not as valuable as it was before. When you depreciate, you take your value away. When you appreciate, you make yourself valuable. What could be more valuable than being connected to Source? 4, stay in rapport with Source energy. Stay in rapport. Your job here is to be in a state of harmony with this. Constantly reminding yourself, is this how my Source thinks? 5, resistance. Understand this about resistance. Every thought that you have that is other than that which you emanated from is resistance. Every unkind thought, every uncreative thought, every thought of judgment, every thought of fear, every thought of depression, every thought of it can't happen, all resistance. So if you say, well, easy for him, he can talk about this, but I can't, that's resistance. You're right. Absolutely. Even if you think all of this is a bunch of nonsense, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely, because for you, that's what you believe. And if you believe that, the universal Source will help you to fulfill that belief. 6 is what I talked about many times in the program. Contemplate yourself as surrounded by the conditions which you want to produce. Contemplate yourself that. Because the way you are one with Source. You are always one with Source. You are one with all of its principles. All of those phases. You are one with it. It can't be anything other than it is. Neither can you. 7, understand the art of allowing. Allowing means taking the path of least resistance. Every time you have a thought that has resistance in it, what you have done is you have created an absence of allowing. You have to almost think like, here I am here, and here's Source. How much energy can I pull from it? How much energy can I pull from it? Are you pulling energy from Source, or are you away from it? Allowing. Allow yourself. 8, practice radical humility. You are not this body that you are in. You are not this mind that you are in. You are not any of the possessions that you have. You are a divine Source. 9, be in a constant state of gratitude. Be grateful for everything that shows up. Everything. Stay in a state of being generous and grateful in your life. Because what could be more generous than that which has allowed you to come from the infinite Source to this material world and back? 10, keep in mind that you can never resolve a problem by condemning it. Any problem that you have, when you use shame, you are using the lowest energy that's out there in the universe. You cannot shame your way into higher consciousness, into Source energy. 11, play the match game. Play the match game. Always ask yourself, am I matched up with the field of intention? And finally, meditate. Make it a practice in your life. Meditation is essential because it is your way of staying connected to Source. What is the only thing in the universe that can't be divided? You cannot divide God. Everything else has an up, down, north, south, east, west, male, female, right, wrong, black, white, alive, dead. Everything comes in dichotomies, except for silence. Silence, you cut it in half, what do you get? More silence. Cut it in half again, more silence. Cut Source in half, just more Source. You can't divide it. Meditation. Stay in the gap.
Principle number 1. Be independent of the good opinion of others. There are many well-meaning people in our lives who have ideas about what we should or shouldn't be doing. Relatives tend to be specialists in this area. If we let them guide us with advice that isn't congruent with our inner calling, we'll suffer the anguish, the slings and arrows, if you will, of an uninspired life. Each of us can feel what we're being called to be. When we pay attention, we can hear our own impatient voices coaxing us to pay attention and complete the assignments we brought with us from the world of spirit. But when we allow the opinions and dictates of others to determine what we're doing or what we're going to be, we lose sight of our objective to live an inspired life. We need to determine for ourselves exactly how much we've allowed others to decide issues such as what we do, where we live, with whom we live, and even how we're treated. We must know that absolutely no one else truly knows and feels what we're here to accomplish. So we must give ourselves permission to hear our inner guidance and ignore the pressure from others. Principle number 2. Be willing to accept the disapproval of others. Logically following the previous principle, this one notes that we're going to incur the disfavor of many people when we follow our inclinations to be in spirit and live the life we came here to live. This isn't a selfish or a cynical attitude. When we begin to follow our ultimate calling, there will be a lot of resistance. In fact, the purpose of the slings and arrows sent our way is to get us to change our mind and be reasonable, which translates to, do it my way. However, as we gain the strength to ignore the pressure to conform, resistance will diminish and ultimately change to respect. When we steadfastly refuse to think, act, and conform to the mandates of others, the pressure to do so loses its momentum. Principle number 3. Stay detached from outcomes. Inspiration doesn't come from completing tasks or meeting goals. In fact, that's the surest way to have it elude you. Returning to spirit, you see, is an experience of living fully in the present moment. Our purpose in life isn't to arrive at a destination where we find inspiration, just as the purpose of dancing isn't to end up at a particular spot on the dance floor. The purpose of dancing and of life is to enjoy every moment and every step, regardless of where we are when the music stops. Yoga Master Sri Swami Sivananda offered the only worthwhile goal I know of when he said that the goal of life is God realization. Now here's a goal that I can live with. After all, this allows me to live in spirit every moment of my life, while simultaneously thinking ahead to the next God-realized moment and the next. As the great Indian sage Ramana Maharshi once remarked, there is no goal to be reached. There is nothing to be attained. You are the self. You exist always. Now this to me is real inspiration. Principle number 4. Know that we need nothing. No things to be inspired. We came into this world of boundaries from a formless energy field of spirit. We arrived here with no thing, no things. We'll make our exit with no things, nothing. And our purpose, God realization, requires nothing, no things. We are all that we need to be inspired and living on purpose, and the things that continue to flow into our lives are just symbols of the unlimited abundance of our source. In other words, these things have no value in and of themselves because everything in the physical world is changing and will dissolve back to nothingness anyway. When we tune in to what we know rather than what we see, we immediately find that every thought of God is repeated throughout the universe. We can watch as some things enter our lives and others leave, all the while remaining in spirit, knowing that all of those things have nothing to do with our state of inspiration. We need nothing more to be inspired, since we're connected to spirit already. The ancient Persian poet Omar Khayyam
offered us these words, which summarize this principle that we don't need another thing to be inspired. It's all right here, right now. He said, "Forget the day that has been cut off from thy existence. Disturb not thyself about tomorrow, which has not yet come. Rest not upon that which is no more. Live happily one instant, and throw not thy life to the winds." Principle number 5. Don't die wondering. This principle is extremely important in working toward an inspired life because it motivates us to act. After all, we don't want to be full of regrets because we failed to heed our ultimate calling. Attempting to do something, even if it doesn't succeed, is inspiring because we don't tend to regret what we do, we regret what we didn't do. Even following a futile attempt, we're inspired because we know that we gave it a shot. It's wondering whether we should or shouldn't try something that leaves us feeling stressed and incomplete. Principle number 6. Remember that our desires won't arrive by our schedule. There's an ancient aphorism that goes, if you really want to make God laugh, tell God your plans. In essence, this means that all we desire will arrive in our life when and only when we're aligned vibrationally with the energy of our source. Our ego won't be consulted or get to determine the schedule. Creation reveals its secrets when it's good and ready. Our job is to take the focus off of the when and put it on being connected to our originating spirit. Our job is to stop challenging and demanding responses from God and instead be more like God. Our job is to understand and accept that all of the things that show up in our life, which we often find contradictory or troublesome, are there because we've attracted them. And we need to have these obstacles in order to clear an opening for our true spirit purpose to emerge. We can let go, surrender, and remind ourselves that all is in divine order. We're much more successful when we allow inspiration to flow in on God's terms than when we're impatient and demanding. As always, our job in God realization is to become more like God. That means surrendering to the timetable that's always perfect, even when it seems to be full of errors. Keep these 6 principles handy and access them anytime you find yourself lacking inspiration. Remember, too, that we're called to this world of inspiration, which beckons us to let go and let God.
We grow up believing in so many limitations that after a while our lives actually manifest those limitations. We hear ourselves saying things that we accept as truth, when in fact they are misbeliefs that have turned into our truths. Here are 5 of those myths or misbeliefs that permeate our culture. 1. I can't help the way I am. I've always been this way. If you find yourself believing that you must always be the way you've always been, you are arguing against growth. You must shed the illusion that you cannot help the way you are. You must create a knowing within you that you have the power to create whatever kind of person you want to become in all aspects of your humanity. 2. It's my nature. I inherited who I am, and it can't be changed. To enter the realm of real magic, you will have to suspend such thoughts and become a spiritual being first, a being who has no limitations in the inner domain where boundaries are non-existent. 3. My personality is controlled by my chemistry and metabolism. This is a lie we hear over and over again, and it is repeated in some of the most prestigious circles, making it even more difficult to overcome. While scientists may in fact have a point about body chemistry, what they too often fail to address is what kind of control we have over our own body. Our body chemistry is always being affected by how we choose to think. I want you to take a look at the enormous power that you have in your mind for containing those enzymes or retraining them to work for you rather than against you. Here's misbelief number 4. My family is responsible for my personality. These kinds of pronouncements are the very sort of inner thoughts that will keep you from ever allowing miraculous changes to take place in your personality. You must know within that you not only have a choice today, but you have always had a choice concerning how you react to the influences of your family. The choice is always yours. Know that your family and your role within your family influence you today to the extent that you believe that they do. You must become the producer, director, and actor in the unfolding story of your life. 5. I can't escape my culture and times. If you believe that the culture determines who you are and what kind of a person you will turn out to be, then that will be your reality. On the other hand, everyone who has ever made a difference in the world has been an innovator. An innovator looks within and allows their conscience and commitment to a purpose decide who they will become. If you're going to follow your bliss and make a difference in the world, You will soon learn that you cannot follow the herd. Once again, it boils down to personal responsibility and a willingness to consult your own spiritual awareness, that higher invisible self that flows through you. As you think, so shall you be. These are the big 5 misbeliefs that make up the big lie that was thrust upon you from your earliest moments of consciousness. You must begin a program to overcome these illusions. As you now know, this entire program of creating miracles revolves around one single premise, that you become in the physical world that which you create in your invisible world. Here are the 6 keys to making yourself into the person that you choose for the purpose of fulfilling your heroic mission here. 1 is your personality. Create a fantasy in your mind and imagine exactly how you would like to be. Would you like to be more assertive, more loving and gentle, less anxious and nervous? For now, just know that all of these inner imaginings can be translated into physical behavior, for that is precisely what you've been doing all along anyway. Secondly, your talent. Just for a moment, visualize the optimal talent that you would like to have. Your choice to excel in any given area will be based upon your own personal interests. Your talent, like everything else about you, is a function of the invisible force that flows through your body. It is not in your hands, your genes, or any part of your physical apparatus. It is in the force that flows through all of your being. When you begin to know rather than doubt your talent, you will discover the necessary physical abilities to carry out your purpose. Third is your intelligence. How smart would you like to be? Would it take a miracle for you to be smarter intellectually than you already are? You are as capable as you need to be to fulfill your purpose. Your intelligence is infinite. Almost 20 years ago, I redefined intelligence in your erroneous zones. A truer barometer of intelligence is an effective, happy life lived each day and each present moment of every day. You are a genius. You can improve your arithmetic and reading skills. You can learn anything that you put your mind to. You are a spiritual being first and foremost, and you cannot put a number on that. Fourth, your habits and customs. Would you like to be able to change some of the things that you find yourself doing repeatedly but which do not serve you any longer? Use your magical powers of inner persuasion to challenge everything about yourself. Your personality is made up of the hundreds of habitual ways that you conduct the daily physical affairs of your life. You can change around your daily humdrum habits and get yourself fully involved in life, regardless of your income level or circumstances. Circumstances do not make a man. They reveal him, as James Allen reminded us in As a Man Thinketh. Learning to think in non-habitual ways is the essence of overcoming personality traits that no longer serve you. Fifthly, your aging. Imagine for yourself the ultimate miracle, a slowing down, or even an elimination of the aging process. The way out of this trap, the real magic that is available to you, is located, as is everything else, in your invisible self, your mind. You can absolutely refuse to let an old person into your body. If you can work your mind in a genuinely magical sense, you can strongly affect the aging process of the cells composed of indestructible DNA. It is in your mind where that invisible intelligence works its magic that you must examine your attitudes towards aging. Do you think old thoughts? You can begin to rethink how you feel about having your individual cells deteriorate. And if you use your mind in a new way to develop a new knowing within, perhaps you will be able to affect that process that you have come to think of as inescapable. Your emotional health is another area. Your emotions are physical manifestations of your thoughts. The joy you experience is located in your physical body, and the chemicals that are present when you experience elation can be identified and quantified. You manufacture those chemicals in your own quantum pharmacy that begins with your mind. When you begin to heal the inner you and consult that inner voice constantly, you literally begin to alter your immune system. Emotions show up in your body as physical manifestations of your thoughts. Keep this in mind as we head toward the path of real magic.